Okay, record on this computer. My screen is shared. I'll close this. Okay, today we'll start. I hope you got comfortable with basic networking of anything, be it assigning IP address to a computer, or connecting this computer with a switch, or connecting this with a router, or from your LAN to another router, what routing is being done. So you should be comfortable with all these things at this point of time. Computers and switches, switch configuration like VLAN, switch ports, and router configuration, router ports, router rules, and routing. And we have also seen about firewalls, how to configure a firewall in your network, and how to go ahead with that. Right? So we have seen all these things, and now we'll move on to the security part. Say probably the ACL which you have configured here, and in VLAN we also have port security, which we didn't see, but that also comes under security aspects of networking. Firewall comes under security aspects of networking. Now, apart from that, we'll go for a specified operating system based network security protocols here, right? So we are going to use this particular operating system called Kali Linux. I hope most of you guys should be aware of what Kali Linux is. For those who are not aware of what Kali Linux and what VirtualBox is, I'll tell you. We'll go on with go on like this. Why we need virtualization? Right? What is the need for virtualization? Why we choose Kali Linux? What is the need for us to choose Kali Linux OS, Kali OS? And we'll start with this. So when it comes to need for virtualization, what is the need for virtualization? There are two needs. One is to create a virtual lab environment. You need to create a virtual lab environment. That is point number one. Second one is to create a sandbox environment. Sandboxed environment. Fine. I'll tell you what these two are. Virtual lab environment. Fine. Yes, you guys have your laptop or you have your desktop in which excuse, you have Windows 10. So Windows 10 is configured in your laptop or desktop, right? And now we are going to look at network security, and we'll perform few of exploitations. Exploitation is the attack which is going to happen. So when you're going for network security and exploitation, it is very obvious you will be needing tools. These tools needs to be downloaded from internet, and you have to install. When you download these tools from internet and when you try to install in your Windows 10, right, there are chances that the tools can be malicious from internet. And when you install these malicious tools in your Windows 10, probably it is going to harm or it is going to corrupt your Windows 10 operating system, which again can lead to loss of data, right? So because it's all hacking tools and network security tools what we are going to install, so we have to be very much careful with that. So we have to play with this in a very safer environment. So how do you do that? In a sandbox environment, we install an application called VirtualBox here. You go for either VirtualBox or VMware, but what is recommended is VirtualBox, right? So we have VirtualBox. It's like an application which is installed, which can be installed in your computer just like this. Say it looks like a normal application here, yes? And in this application, in VirtualBox, what you can do, you can install n number of operating systems. I've installed like 6 operating systems right now, right? So in this VirtualBox, I'm going to install one more operating system, which is called Kali Linux, right? You can go for dual boot operating system, but the problem with dual booting is either Windows will boot, this will boot, or Kali will boot. You can use only one operating system. But when you go for VirtualBox, your Windows 10 will also be on, your Kali Linux will also be on, it will run parallelly. You can use Windows 10 and parallelly you can also use Kali Linux, right? So I'm going to install Kali Linux in VirtualBox, and in this I'm going to install all my tools in case needed. In case if it is needed, I'll install. Or Kali Linux has 300 plus inbuilt softwares, right? It has all the softwares which are already inbuilt, pre-installed in this operating system. So all you have to do is just install the operating system, which comes with all the tools which is needed for network security, which is needed for exploitation, which is needed for a lot of different purpose, right? And if something goes wrong, you're trying with malware exploitation, or you're trying with network exploitation, you're doing something and this OS is corrupt, right? When operating system which you have installed in VirtualBox, right, it is corrupt, it will be only inside VirtualBox. It is never going to bother, or it is never going to corrupt Windows 10, right? So if something goes wrong with the deft OS, what I've installed here, what I'll do, I'll right click this and I'll delete this. As simple as that. And anything which happens inside deft OS will stay inside deft OS. It is not going to harm my Windows 10 here, right? So this, you call it as a sandboxed environment. So what do you mean by a sandboxed environment? So in case if you have a bomb which is about to blast, and when you keep it in a plain surface, the blast is going to, the impact is going to be huge, right? This bomb is going to cover a larger area. So what you do, you place this bomb inside a box which is filled with sand. Now, in case if the bomb blasts, the impact will be stopped inside this box. That is a sandboxed environment, right? So VirtualBox acts like a sandbox environment. That is use number one. So it's a sandbox environment. It is a safer environment to test and to do whatever you want. So the host operating system will always be safe. You can install any type of operating system, whatever you wanted to try and test, right? What is a virtual lab environment? Virtual lab environment is where, as usual, you have only one computer here. You have only one computer, which is Windows 10. And for hacking or for network exploitation, for offensive learning, probably you'll be needing like 2-3 computers with different operating systems. Say this is Windows 10 and this is Kali Linux, and this can be Ubuntu, and this will be Windows 7. Fine. So what you'll be doing, you will use Kali Linux to attack Windows 7 and test if the attack is working or not. You will use Kali Linux and attack Windows 10, and you will try to see if you are able to hack this or not. This is to the similar architecture what you have configured in Packet Tracer. Fine, you had 4 computers which are connected with a switch, and from this switch, it is either connected to a Wi-Fi modem or it is connected to a router. It can be anything. Fine. So this becomes your LAN. This is your LAN here, local area network here. And for testing and for practicing, yes, we need so many computers like this, and probably you cannot go back to your parents asking to, or you cannot spend your own money buying like 4 computers and carrying it all the way wherever you go. So what we do, we install VirtualBox here, VirtualBox, and inside VirtualBox, I install Kali Linux. Inside VirtualBox, I install Ubuntu. Inside VirtualBox, I install Windows 7. So what happens? All these operating systems can be run simultaneously at the same time. Fine. It all runs at the same time in a different box. I'll show you how it's like it's in a different folder. And yes, all these computers again will have different IP address. This is 1.2, this is 1.3, this is 1.4, this is 1.5. Just like what we have learned in IP addressing and how we have configured in Packet Tracer. So it is like I have a LAN with 4 computers connected. Right? I have a LAN with 4 computers in it, and all these 3 operating systems are installed in VirtualBox, right? And in case if I don't need Ubuntu, I'll replace Ubuntu with any other operating system, whatever I want, right? And yes, VMware, you can also go for VMware. That is also recommended, but to start with, you can go for VirtualBox, right? So having said this, now VMware is okay. With regards to the size, so I have in my VirtualBox, I told you I have 6 operating systems here. Yes, I have 6 operating systems. Now you might ask me, can we install 6 operating systems in your computer? Yes, you can install, but when it comes to running all these operating systems at the same time, you will have to consider your system performance. In case if your system is, okay, I'll write it down here. In case if you have a government laptop, if you have a government laptop which has like 4 GB RAM, you can run one virtual OS. You can run one virtual OS in your government laptop, which is of low configuration, and obviously you can install one operating system in VirtualBox and you can run this. If you have a i3 processor or if you have i5 processor with 4 or 8 GB RAM, 4 or 8 GB RAM, probably you can try running 2 or 3 virtual OS. Fine. If you have i7 processor with 8 or 16 GB RAM, then you can go for running 4 to 5 virtual OS at the same time. Yes. So higher configurations above this, yes, you can run whatever, how many operating systems you want. So my configuration here is like I have i7 processor with 16 GB RAM. So I don't find difficult in running like 5 or 6 operating systems at the same time. Mine is a desktop. In case if it's your laptop, the performance can be a little degraded, but still you can achieve this 5 to 6 or 4 to 5. That is perfectly fine. Fine. And yes, it is possible in case you want to try any operating system, Mac, Android, whatever you want. Yes, you can try installing it in VirtualBox. You'll not get the same performance, but yes, if you have an OS and you want to install in VirtualBox, you can install and you can try. Right? And I'll show you how to install this operating system. So when you install a VirtualBox, which is shared in the drive, when you download it and when you install, it is all next. You can install, and when you install, it will be brand new without any of these operating systems. So you'll have these options: new, settings, start. So I'm going to install a new operating system. So you have to go for new, this new here. Fine. So when I click new, I'll click new, and it is asking me for a name. I'll give it as Kali Linux, and the type is Linux, and you can go for Ubuntu, and mine is 64-bit. So it is Ubuntu 64-bit, type is Linux, then next. Now I have the option to choose my RAM. I told you I have 16 GB of RAM. So in case if I have 16 GB of RAM, I can choose like the green icon here, the green shades here indicate that you can choose up to that much, but I won't go for that much. I can choose like I'll go for 3 gigs of RAM. The more the RAM you give, the more the RAM you assign, the faster your operating system will be. Right? But in case if we have only 4 GB of RAM, make sure you're going to give only 1 GB of RAM for Kali Linux. Right? If you assign more GBs to this, then your host operating system might hang and probably you will not be able to work. So I'll go for 3 gigs of data for this, RAM for this. Next, and create a virtual hard disk now. Create, and VirtualBox disk image. You don't have to change anything here. Next, and I'm going to allocate. You can allocate the hard disk size. This particular operating system, you can give 10, 20 GB, or depending on your hard disk storage. I'm going to give 20 GB of, by default 10 is more than enough, but you can give 20 GB of data for storing this and create. So I've created this. I have Kali Linux here. Now Kali Linux ISO is already shared you with in the drive, so you can download that, and you can go for click. Click this start icon here. When you click start, now it is going to ask you for ISO file. So when I click start, it is asking for the ISO file. Click this icon for browse, and when I click this, I'm going to click add, and I have not in this news. I have OS, and my Kali Linux is here. Fine. So locate your Kali Linux where it has downloaded, and click open. Fine, and choose, and Kali Linux is selected here. Now click start. Fine. So installing operating system is as simple as that. I'll go for live installation. Live. I'll open this. In case if the window is small like this, what you can do, you can go for view, click on scaled mode, view scaled mode, and switch, and it will be like this. Then double click over here in this tab. Now it's bigger. So I have my Kali Linux OS installed. So the default username is root. The password is the reverse TOOR, and I'll log in. Fine. If in case if we have advanced version of Kali Linux, or if you have Parrot OS, if you have any OS related to Kali Linux, that is perfectly fine. You can work with that. People who are very new, yes. In case if you want to migrate or you want to learn something about security, then this operating system is mandatory. Fine. And as I told you, this is the start icon, like how you have Windows start icon here. You have the start icon of Kali Linux here. I'll click this, and these are the different tools which are available. Information gathering, vulnerability analysis. You have so many tools. Like you will have enough time learning all these tools. There are n number of tools here, right? So exploitation tools and sniffing and spoofing. You have so many tools here, right? So a lot of different tools here. And when you go to usual applications, and when you go to system tools, you'll have your LX terminal here. I'll add this to desktop. So you have your terminal here. Now, if I click if config, I click if config, which is the command, to check my IP address. In your Windows computer, it is IP config. Here it is if config. Enter, and see the IP address is 10.0.2.15. Fine. The IP address is this. Now let me explain you this. Considering my computer scenario here, I have my Windows 10. This is my Windows 10 here, and I've installed VirtualBox. And in VirtualBox, I have Kali Linux. Yes, I have Kali Linux. Now, let me check what is the IP address of my Windows 10. The IP address of my Windows 10 is IP config, okay, config, enter. The IP address of my Windows 10 is 192.168.0.3. Yes. So my computer's IP address is 192.168.0.3. Now, what is the IP address of Kali Linux? The IP address of Kali Linux is 10.0.2.15. 10.0.2.15. So it is 10.0.2.15, right? And when we were discussing about IP address, we saw a concept of network ID. Do you remember this? NID and BID. We discussed this during IP addressing. Yes. And I told you any computer from your domain, say it is 192.168.1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and 1.5. I think this was during day 2. You take any IP address. I'll take this IP address 192.168.1.2. How to find the network ID? You need to find the class. Step number 1, class is C, and you need to find the number of network and host portion. For class C, you have 3 network and 1 host portion. And to find the network ID, you have to make the host portion as 0. So what will be your network ID? 192.168.1.0. Fine. This is your network ID. Even if you have a router connected to it, any computer in your LAN, you take any computer and try to find the network ID, you will get the exact same answer. Fine. So now I'm connected to my Wi-Fi here, and my computer's IP address is 192.168.0.3. But why does Kali Linux IP address is in class A? So the network ID of this is not equal to the network ID of this, which means this computer here, which is inside VirtualBox, is acting like it is in a different LAN. It is behaving like it is in a different LAN. Do you want this, or do you don't want this? Fine, we have to decide this. Fine. So the OS which you are going to install inside VirtualBox, it is your option. Do you want this to be inside your LAN, the OS to be inside your LAN, or do you want the OS to behave outside the LAN? We have different scenarios. Fine. In case you want to learn hacking out of LAN, fine, hacking out of LAN, then probably this kind of architecture is okay, because this will behave like my computer is in Chennai here and this Windows 10 is in Bangalore. Both are from different LANs. In case you want to practice out of LAN, you can leave this configuration like this. But in case you wanted to look at Kali Linux as a computer which is inside your LAN, right? Like this is my Windows 10 and this should be my Kali Linux. If you want a scenario like this, for most of the cases in the initial stages, we want Kali Linux to be in our LAN. Why? Only then you can scan all the computers, you can see what other computers are doing and a lot of different things. So the configuration, what you have to do here for inside LAN is bridged adapter. I'll show you where you have to change this configuration. The configuration is going to be bridged adapter. And here, in case if it is outside LAN, it is going to be NAT. I hope now you understand what NAT is, network address translation, right? In case you want this to be out of your LAN, then the configuration which you have to make is NAT. You want this to be inside your LAN, then that's going to be bridged adapter, right? So let me go here. I have my Kali Linux which is running here. Yes. So I'll go to my settings here. I'll go to my settings. I'll click this. In my settings, I'll go for network. In network, see here, now it is in NAT. That is why it is behaving like a different computer in a different LAN. That is why the IP address 10.0.2.15. Now I'll click this. I'll change this to bridged adapter. Fine. I'll change this to bridged adapter. I'll click OK. I click OK. Then probably the IP address now should change to something else. Disconnect. I'll see this icon. I got it from here. The computer icon. If you click this, you'll have the network connections here. Now I'll connect to this. I'll connect this. It is obtaining an IP address. Now look at the IP address. It is 192.168.0.7. Fine. So now if you give if config, and now what is your IP address of your Kali Linux? It is 192.168.0.7. Perfect. Fine. So now we have changed the IP settings and now the IP address is 192.168.0.7. My Windows 10, it is 0.3. My Windows, like Kali Linux, it is 0.7. In case if I install one more operating system, it will also be in 192.168.0.10, something like this. So I'm creating all virtual computers here. And when I say virtual, please don't come to a conclusion that these operating systems cannot do anything. You can save data in this. You can save data in Kali Linux. You can create a folder. You can create whatever you want. This works just like a computer. Just like a normal computer, how you would work, this behaves just like that. The possibilities and the functionalities what you have are unlimited. You can try whatever you want, right? And virtualization is one of the best ways to learn different operating systems and to know the purpose of each operating system, right? So having said this, now we'll go for, I hope this is clear for you guys. about why we go for virtualization, why we go for Kali Linux, and Kali Linux, the basic network settings, NAT and bridged adapter. Fine, we have two settings here. And now let me go for this. Now coming to my architecture here, I have a Wi-Fi modem, and I have my Windows 10, and it is like I have a Kali Linux here, and this IP address is 0.3 192.168.0.3, and this is 192.168.0.7. Yes, I have two computers connected now, and probably in your network you can have a lot of different computers, or if this is a corporate network, right? Corporate network where under the switch you have like 100 computers connected. Fine, you have 100 computers connected, and I gave you this example. You are sitting in this computer here. You are here sitting in this computer. Now your manager walks to you and asks, like, okay, Shankar, how many computers are on? How many devices are connected? How many computers are on? I need all the IP address. In case if you come up with a query like this, he is requesting you how many computers are on and what is the IP address and MAC address of all these devices, right? And I also gave you this example. All these 100 computers, this company called ABC, it's like a two-story building here. We have 30 computers here, we have 60 computers here, and we have 10 computers here. And you are sitting here in the ground floor. And when he is asking how many computers are on, you cannot physically go to all the floors and check how many computers are on. So what we do, we are going to perform the first objective here. We are going to perform a scan. And what scan is this? This is a network scan. You're going to scan your network, and this is going to be a network scan, and this is going to be an internal network scan. This is internal network scan which you are going to do. Yes, a network scan. Yes, in general we have so many scans. We have vulnerability scanning, we have different types of scans, and in general what we are going to do here is a network scan, and we will go for internal network scan. And you also have an external network scan which is not included in our syllabus because we are learning about networks. So probably you should be learning about your network here. So we'll go for, I'll suggest you one app which is going to perform this. We'll also see a tool which is going to perform this. So we have an app and we have a tool which can perform network scan. Coming to the app, we have this app called Fing. Fing is an app which is available in Play Store, which is available in all the devices here. Give me 1 minute. I think Kavya Surya needs to turn off his, okay. Thank you. Fine. So go for your Play Store or, okay. Fing works like this. Fing app. Fing app can perform a, see the app looks like this. You have it for both Android and iPhone. When you install this app, right? When you install this app and imagine this is a mobile here which is connected and you have Fing app here. Fing app here which you have installed and when you open this app, the main requirement is that your mobile device should get connected to any Wi-Fi like this, right? It should be connected to a Wi-Fi. In case if it is connected to a Wi-Fi, and second, if you open this app is going to show you what other computers are there. What other computers are there? What is the IP address of those computers? What is the name of those computers? And it is going to give you a lot of interesting information. You don't have to use this. I mean, like, you don't have to go for complex configuration. Just open the app. If you open the app, you will get results like this. Let me go for a bigger picture here. Okay. See, when you open the app, it is going to give you the name of the Wi-Fi to which you are connected. And see, it is giving you the IP address and MAC address. IP address and MAC address. you get a lot of details like this. How many devices are connected? You can use this for a good purpose. In case for your home Wi-Fi, you want to check if there is any connections from outside. Someone from outside is accessing your Wi-Fi. You can use Fing app to check what devices are connected. Probably in your home, you will know how many devices you have and how many are connected with the internet. In case if you have excess device, then someone else is using your Wi-Fi connection. Fine. You have to come up with different countermeasures to prevent this. Fine. Or when attackers use this, when you are going to a coffee shop, you're connected to a free Wi-Fi, and you open this Fing app, what output you'll get? You'll get what are the other devices, fine, which are connected to this Wi-Fi, to this free Wi-Fi, fine. So the attacker's objective is first to get anyone's IP address and MAC address. From this, yes, probably they'll come to know if it is a Apple mobile or is it a Android mobile or is it what type of mobile is this, and the attack session hijacking, network sniffing, any type of attack will be possible, but grabbing the IP address is the first part. For this, app like this can help. Fine, this comes handy. And professionally speaking, yes, you can also go for Nmap. Fine. Why we choose Kali Linux? Because it has in 300, okay, 300 plus inbuilt tools which can help in network security, auditing, vulnerability assessment, and exploitation. Right? And now the first tool, what we are going to see here is Nmap. So the app, what we have seen is Fing. It's a very simple app, which is for both Android and iPhone. Nmap stands for network mapper, right? Network mapper. And I'll tell you the importance of this tool. See here, I'll go to Chrome, I'll open Google, and I'll type top 10 hacking tools. I've not mentioned the year, I've not mentioned anything. I'm just typing top 10 hacking tools, enter, right? When you type top 10 hacking tools, for sure you'll have Nmap in the list. Nmap is such a powerful tool. See here, you have Nmap. It is such a powerful tool. It can be used for both good and bad purpose. Probably concerning what we are learning here, we'll try to use it for a good purpose. So the first thing what we'll do is perform an internal scan with Nmap. So you are going to find out how many devices are on in your network, in your LAN, right? And then we'll see how many, what is the IP address? What is the IP address of all devices? And third, what is the MAC address of all these devices? And you will also see what ports are open in all devices, what ports are open, and what services are running, right? What kind of services are running? You will get a lot of details like this, right? So how can we proceed with that? I'll first show you how this tool works. Nmap, you can go here, you can go for information gathering, you can go for live host identification, no, network and port scanners, you can go for Nmap, you can go like this, network and port scanners, you have Nmap here, either like this, or you can also go for, you can open up a terminal like this and type Nmap, and the command, it generally works. Want to make sure to check the commands, what commands are there, type Nmap and enter. You can see the list of commands, what you have, what is there for host discovery, what scan techniques you have different things which you can include, which you can see. Now what we are going to do now, we'll perform a basic scan. So my IP address here, as you know, it is 0.7, right? It is 0.7. 192.168 0.7. This is my IP address. So from my Kali Linux, what should I do? I should go to nmap. I'll type the command called nmap, and then I'll use this scan. It's a pretty simple scan, -s capital T. I'll tell you what this scan is, right? -s, small s and capital T. And then I have to give my network ID here. Fine. What is my network ID now? My IP address is 192.168.0.3. So what should be my network address? It is class C, and network and host portion. Make the host portion as 0. So it is 192.168.0.0. So based on your IP address, you have to enter your network ID here, and then I'll give /24. This is for your subnet mask. Fine. So I'll tell you what this is, why we give 24 here. You all know IP address is 32 bits. Yes. So for class C IP address, what we have here, we have 3 network and 1 host portion. Combined together, it is 32 bits. So it is 8, it is 8, it is 8 bits, and it is 8 bits. 8 plus 8 plus 8, we have 32 bits. Now you're concerned only about your network. You're scanning only your network. So how many bits do we have? 8 plus 8, 16, 16 plus 8, 24. In case if it is class B, instead of this /24, you might be using /16. If it is class A, you might be using /8. Fine. So I'm going to use this, and this is going to scan my entire network. Fine. It is going to scan my entire network, and it will try to find out which computers are on. So I'll go for this. I'll type nmap -s capital T 192.168.0.0/24. Enter. So let's wait for the output and see what happens here. Fine. So we'll wait for the output here. -s capital T is this particular scan. What we are going to use here is called TCP Connect Scan. This is called TCP Connect Scan, which performs TCP three-way handshake. Fine. For your understanding, this is a very basic scan. You can use any number of commands here. I'll type what commands you can use. We'll go for nmap and okay, nmap -s capital T, and you can scan a single IP address like this 1.2. In case you want, you can scan a particular IP address like this. This is with internal scan what I'm speaking here, or you can give 0/24, scan your entire network here. Fine. And you can also use nmap for an external scan like this. You can give google.com. You can give a domain name, or you can give a public IP address, which again is going to give you results. Fine. So this is with the basic scan. And in case you want to go for advanced scan, means like I want to make some changes here. The complex scan can be like this. I'll give -ss, I'll give -a, I'll give -o, -v, -pp. Fine. All these commands here have different meaning. This is stealth scan. -ss is stealth scan. A is aggressive scan. I'll write it here. It is stealth scan. -a is aggressive scan. Aggressive scan does 3 things. One is OS detection plus service detection, plus it is also going to give you tracet. It's going to find you the path. Or -o, which is only for OS detection, and -v is verbose. Verbose is detailed output. You'll get a detailed output with this, and -p, okay, -pp, which is will scan. It is going to scan all 65,535 ports. Right? It is going to scan all the ports which are available. Fine. This kind of scan is going to raise a lot of traffic, so please don't use it for any other purpose. Means like scanning outside networks, because if you are going to scan all the ports, so sometimes it is going to raise a lot of traffic which might not be good. You can use this for internal scans to find out the operating system. You can use these two commands in combination to see what is happening in the background. You can go for this. Fine. Or if you say I'm not comfortable with this, you can very well go for another tool which is called ZenMap, which is a graphical user interface of Nmap. When you type ZenMap, you'll get something like this, and this is pretty much easy to use. I can give my target here. I'll give google.com, and whatever scan you wanted to perform, intent scan or ping scan, you don't have to type any command. Just choose this. Okay, I'll give intent scan plus UDP. When you choose any option here, the command automatically gets generated, and click scan, you'll get the scan results here. So ZenMap is again a useful tool, but I would suggest you to start with Nmap so that you learn these commands. Okay, let us see what result we have got. I try to scan my network, and see here, I'll show you the final result. How many hosts is up? I have 5 hosts which is up. Yes. So I have 5 devices which are connected to my Wi-Fi. And this is my modem's IP address. It is D-Link 0.1. This is the IP address of my modem. And this is the MAC address of my modem. And it is showing me what ports are open. What ports are open and what services are running. Fine. Scroll down. 192.168.0.3. Okay, this is my Apple. 0.2 is my Apple's IP address, what I have here. And 0.3, I have these many ports which are open. 0.4, again, I have these many ports open, and this is my MAC address. So in general, fine. In general, you will come to know how many hosts is up. In case if, as we have taken the previous example of corporate, they have 100 computers. So it is going to give you how many computers are on. It will say 70 host is up. 70 host is up. So you will know 70 computers are on. Fine. A general network scanning. Fine. This is what we do. And as I told you, you have so many complex commands which you can try with Nmap. And in case for people who wanted to try something advanced with Nmap, please learn what is Nmap scripts. Nmap scripts, you have scripts for everything. You have a whatever technology you mention, you will have a Nmap script here. And when you're using Nmap script, all you have to do is type the script tag here, and you should type the script name, and this script name usually belongs with .nsc. Right? The extension will be .nsc. Learn about Nmap scripts in case if you are interested, or if you are using only for scanning your internal network as per our schedule and syllabus, what we are discussing here. This is more than enough. Fine, you can go for this, scan a single IP address, or you can scan your entire network to find which host is up. NSE stands for Nmap Scripting Engine. You will have http://header enumeration.nsc. NSE means Nmap Scripting Engine. So that is the extension, just like .exe and other things. Fine. So this is how you scan your network. Now, after you scan your network, now what you want to do, we'll learn something about traffic analysis. Right? Analyzing your traffic. Analyzing your traffic helps you in identifying a lot of things. What happens in your computer. This can also be used in malware attacks. Fine. So listen to this carefully. What do you mean by analyzing your traffic? I told you in the beginning, computer communication happens in packets. 2 computers connected to each other in internet, right? Or you are here and your friend is here and you both are chatting, right? And anything which goes out of your computer will be in packets. I told you this, yes? Whatever goes out of your computer goes in packets, and whatever comes in, it is also a packet. So it is all packets. So computer communication is based on packets, and that is where we have learned TCP and UDP. And these two are different protocols with which computers can communicate with each other, either with TCP or UDP. Yes. So I'm telling computer communication happens in packets, but have you seen any packets? Did you see any packet which is going out of your computer with your own eyes? No. We believe that in behind the scenes, computer communication happens in packets. We believe that, but we have never seen this. But in case if you want to see this, you want to see what is happening. Only if I see, I will believe. We have traffic analyzers. We have tools which are called traffic analyzers. Fine. We have traffic analyzer tools like Wireshark, which is again the most important tools when it comes to network. See, exploitation, we have so many tools in Kali Linux, but the tools what we are seeing is based on the syllabus what we have framed. It is the tool, we are seeing the tools which are used for networking and network security. Fine. And we have a topic called traffic analysis, network traffic analysis, which can be done with Wireshark, which is the number one tool which can be used for looking at packets like this. You can open Wireshark in Kali Linux. In Kali Linux, go to terminal and type Wireshark, enter, and you'll have Wireshark which is open. You'll have this tool which is open like this. Fine. So you have Wireshark here, and we have different options here. And when you look at this, see that the graph which goes like the ECG here, right? It indicates traffic. Other interfaces, we have so many interfaces in your computer. Fine. Give me 1 minute. Let me go for this. You have your laptop here. You have your laptop, and it is very obvious the laptop is connected to the Wi-Fi. It is through a wireless interface. So obviously it will be WLAN. It is through wireless interface, and you have a computer. And if you have a cable, which is connected to the modem, then you can call it as ETH, which means Ethernet cable, and this will be 0. So for wired connections, it is ETH 0, and for wireless connection, it is WLAN 0. So when I look at my Kali Linux, it is connected to a wired network. And since it is a wired network, as I told you, it is ETH 0. So when it is ETH 0, when I go to Wireshark, ETH 0 shows some traffic. Yes, which means there is some packets which is going out and coming in through this interface. Now what you have to do, you have to double click on this. When you double click on this, you might be seeing a lot of packets which goes out of your network. In case if you don't see any packet, open up a browser. When you open a browser, see here, we have so many packets which is going here. See, we have more number of packets based on source, based on destination, based on a lot of things, and it is going to give you a lot of information, right? And let me stop this. And for guys who are very new to this, I'll tell you what this is. This is the number of packets which is being transmitted. It is only like 2, 3, okay, like 10 seconds. I opened this and it has generated more than 700 packets, right? And this is the time which is not needed. We'll go for the source. This is the source IP address, and this is the destination IP address. I'll come to a packet like this. Okay, see here, 0.7. What is 0.7? 0.7 is the IP address of my Kali Linux. 0.7 is the IP address of your Kali Linux. So from my Kali Linux computer, I have a packet which goes out to a destination IP address, which I'm not very sure of. It is 13.224.217.78. Yes, to this computer. And what is the packet? It is a TCP packet, and it says it is an acknowledgement packet. In case if you want to see more about this packet, double click on this packet. I'll show you Wireshark, how much of information can be seen or extracted with the help of Wireshark. I double click on this packet. When it comes to OSI layer, Wireshark can give you physical layer. It can give you data link layer. it can give you network layer, and it can give you transport layer, and it can also give you sessions layer. So it can give you 5 layers of information. Data link layer, yes, you have a switch, and switch memory, as we have discussed earlier, it is MAC address. So what is the source MAC address? What is the destination MAC address? Fine. And network layer, we have router. And when it comes to router, it is IP address. So what is the source IP address and what is the destination IP address? Fine. And transport layer, we have port numbers, which port number is being used, to which it is sent. We have a lot of information here. And in case, right, Wireshark, understand this concept. It's going to be complex, but I'll explain this from the basic. And this is ABC server, right? ABC server here. We are connected with the internet. Now I type, I open my browser and I type www.abc.com/login.php. I'm going to log into this ABC website here, right? So it is asking for username and password. I'm like the website here, and I have my Wireshark which is running. Fine. So a lot of packets is being transmitted, or it's being transferred between my computer and ABC. ABC.com is also sending me packets. Why? I'm requesting for the page, and ABC.com in return sends all the website packets so that the website opens in my browser. And I give my username and password. Fine. I click login, and this username and password also goes in one of the packet. Yes, it is very obvious. The username and password, what I have typed, will also go in one of the packets. And you all know Wireshark is showing us all these packets. It is displaying all the packets which is being sent from my IP address. This is the source IP address, and this is the destination IP address. Wireshark is showing me all these things. Yes. And in case if I use Wireshark to capture this packet, right? To capture this packet, and when I open this packet, for sure I'll have the username and password. I'll have the username and password, but based on the security of this site, this password can be in plain text or it can be encrypted. Right? But you have to understand this. In case if you are able to capture packets, an attacker, if he is able to monitor the entire things what you are doing, if he is able to capture all your packets, fine, he'll be able to grab your username and password. He will know which website you are accessing. He'll get access to a lot of interesting information, right? So username and password, yes, we have different types of exploitation, but I'll show you how to use Wireshark to grab usernames and passwords in a, we'll start with a very basic site. We'll go for a HTTP site which will have its username and password saved in plain text. So it'll be easy for you guys to follow, right? So I will try to log into a HTTP website, and I'll use Wireshark to grab this packet like this, and I'll open this packet where we'll have usernames and password. Fine. And for this, you need to know about filter commands. Why filter commands? Because there are like so many packets here, and in case it is very tough for you guys to scroll down each and every packet like this and try to find. So we have filter commands here, and filter commands, you have different types of filter commands. If I want to filter the source ID, I will type ip.source is equal to 192.168.0.7. Means in the source field, now I have different IP address here, but I'm saying, no, I want only my IP address here. I want to see what packets have gone out of my network. So you can use a command like this, filter command like this, enter. See, now the source, it will have only 0.7. If I want to see what packets I have received, I'll change this to destination and enter. Now see, in destination's IP address, I have 0.7. Fine. And when it comes to websites, you have to understand this. it is all get and post. Fine. It is all HTTP methods, which is get and post. So whenever I want something from this website, then I'm getting something from the website. And whenever I got something and I want to send this back to the website, it is going to be post. So it is all get and post, whether you get something from the website or you send something back to the website. Right? Say with login, I can have two packets. One is a get login packet. If I go for a get option and a login packet, it will be an empty packet. Fine. After I enter my username and password, now the same login packet, it is a post packet, post login, which will go to the server. So I have get and post. Now, in order to find the username and password, do we require get or do we require post? Which packet do we need? We have two packets here. One is get, the other one is post. Post packet. Yes. Why post packet? Because post packet will have the username and password. Get packet will be an empty packet. Fine. When I type facebook.com, when I type facebook.com here, facebook.com, enter, then that is a get packet. Fine. Get packet will not have anything. Get packet will ask me to enter a username and password. But if I type something here and if I click login, that is a post packet. I'm posting something to the server. Fine. So I should be concentrating on the post packet here. So let me go here to Firefox, and Firefox has a filter to make it very easy for you guys. It has a filter which says http.request.method. I want to look only the get and post packets, what is being transferred. So http.request.method, which is going to give me usernames and passwords. And for your understanding, I'll scroll like this. I can keep it like this so that you can see what is happening. No, we'll keep it like this. HTTP request.method. So I'll start my scan here again. When you start your scan, it is asking you, do you want to save? I don't want to save. Continue without saving. Now I have my filter is here. It is showing me only HTTP request method, only get and post packets. Now what I do, I go for this site. I'll go to this site here. I'll go to Google. I'll go to Google and I will search for this. I'll search HTTP login page. HTTP login page. Fine. I gave HTTP login page and we have many HTTP login pages here. So we'll go for this particular page here. And for your understanding, let me keep this like this so that you can see parallelly what is happening. I don't want this and this. Yes, we'll see the protocol here. Fine. So I'll go for this site, testing ground, scrapping pro. I have some site. See here, I have a lot of HTTP packets. Fine. So it is asking me to log in. This site is asking me to enter the username and password. It is asking me to enter the username and password. Now I'll give my username as admin and password. I'll type it as Shankar something and I'll log in. If this logs in or not, that is not the issue here. See here, I'll stop this. Wireshark is like a tape recorder. It's like a tape recorder. It has to be on, only then it will capture whatever you have browsed here in your site. So see here, we have got a get packet, which is a login packet. Yes, if I open this, will I have username and password? The answer is no. Why? Because this is a get packet. You're getting this packet from the site. So it will be an empty packet and probably you'll not be having usernames and password. But if you scroll down, see this is a post packet, post login. And when I open this packet, you can double click and open this packet. When you double click and open, you have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, hypertext transfer protocol. And in this, if you open this HTML form URL encoded, you will have the username and password what you have typed here. Yes, this is one option. And the second option, you can right click this packet. You can right click on this packet and you have follow and give follow TCP stream. When you give follow TCP stream, when you go for this option, red is what you have entered. Red color here means the data which is sent from your computer. And this blue color, violet, what does it mean? It is a response which you have got from the server. And when you look at this, you have your username and password here. Fine. So a basic HTTP site without being encrypting, sending in plain text, yes, you can use Wireshark. Now you might be having this question. We'll end up with this. You might be wondering this, Shankar. I'm using my Kali Linux here. I have my Wireshark running, right? I have my browser Firefox, which is also running here. I'm opening a website here. I'm giving the username and password in my computer, right? And I'm looking the details in Wireshark. But I'm the single person here. I know what username and password I've entered in the website. From the same computer, why do I have to look the details from Wireshark? What is the use of it, right? There is no use. Literally, it is like understanding this tool. Once if you have understood this tool of how to analyze traffic, now what we can do, this is another computer here in your LAN, Windows 10. We can try to pull this traffic to your computer. This is called network sniffing, traffic sniffing. When you try to pull all these packets to your computer, and this time when you run Wireshark, you will also be able to see what this person here is doing, right? That you call it as network sniffing. You have session hijacking, a lot of different attacks, right? And yes, Burp Suite and Wireshark both are different tools. Wireshark is like a CCTV camera. It can only show you what has happened, what is happening, but you cannot stop this. You cannot change any details in Wireshark. Whereas in Burp Suite, yes, you can stop, you can change details, and then forward. You will have control of the traffic. So both are different. How to pull network traffic to our computer, I'll tell you that. We'll see that in tomorrow's session, along with other details, network sniffing, how it is done, and how we can grab, how we can see what others are doing in our network, right? And Wireshark, it can analyze all your computer's traffic in your network except for mobile. For mobile, you have to do a little more configuration to analyze mobile traffic. You will need to add PSK keys, which is totally out of topic, but yes, that is possible. Fine. So as of today's to-do is concerned, you have two to-dos for today. One is perform, okay, one is install Fing app in your mobile, then run Nmap internal scan and find how many computers are on. And third, run Wireshark and grab login details from HTTP website. Please don't come up with HTTPS website and ping in a Skype lab group why I'm not getting the password. To start with, go for a basic HTTP site and try to grab usernames and passwords. And I think these three are the assignments for today, and we are done for today. Fine. Good day to you. We'll meet tomorrow then. I'll be, okay. Soumita now will share you the attendance details. I mean, attendance link. You can carry on with that. Fine. Yep. Thank you.